Wow, the weather for next week just took a surprising turn. This is a jam-packed forecast. We've got multiple days of severe weather, wildfire smoke coming down from Canada, and the aurora to talk about all in one forecast. You're gonna wanna watch this one. Now, how bad is it gonna get, and when will this all go down? I'm gonna have all that and more in today's forecast, starting now. Look at that. What is going on over there? That's insane. All right, so starting things off with the visible satellite, we have got a very active visible satellite right now. We've got a strong, almost nor'easter type storm that dropped all that severe weather in the mid-Atlantic and the East Coast yesterday. That is now pushing off the coast, but what it's doing is it's pulling around clouds and rain on the backside. If this were winter, that would likely be a massive winter storm right along the East Coast. Now, the other thing I want to point out here, guys, see this kind of milky, almost like brown, looks like clouds coming down from Canada? Those aren't clouds at all. That's actually wildfire smoke that's pouring down from Canada, where we've got some very significant wildfires going on. And that smoke goes all the way down here into the southeast, through the Ohio Valley, even into parts of Florida. So if you're looking outside today, you got the sun out, but there's a little bit of haze over top of it. That is wildfire smoke coming from Canada. You may even smell a little bit of smoke in the air. But in stark contrast, the western United States, where I know we've got some friends on the channel, you guys pretty much have zero to no clouds at all. It's a gorgeous day out there. All right, so I first want to talk about this wildfire smoke that's coming down from Canada. This is going to be a problem for the next several days for those east of the Rockies. Notice any colors in yellow and white and blue and purple. That is a lot of wildfire smoke, and that will be filtering in over the next couple of days. Look how it just pours in the United States and sits around and eventually moves into the Midwest and Ohio Valley. So several days of hazy skies, maybe some smoke in the air, especially in places like Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, even into Minnesota. And it's going to happen, unfortunately. This is Monday. And on top of that, we also have Sahara Dust moving into the Gulf, and that's going to cause milky skies, but instead of from fire, this is going to be from dust from the Sahara Desert, and that's going to move along the Gulf Coast right there. See that? It slams into Louisiana, into the panhandle of Florida. Going to make for a couple of days of some dusty, milky skies. On top of that, smoke. Now switching gears just a little bit, we are expecting today to get some severe weather, especially in Oklahoma. I think it's going to be a very isolated threat, though. We only have a 2% chance for tornadoes in places like Oklahoma City, and this goes all the way up to Wichita, Kansas, and goes all the way down to the Red River along the Oklahoma border. But overall, the risk today, we're not talking about a widespread tornado outbreak. The main threat here is going to be wind and some large hail later on tonight into the overnight hours in Oklahoma. Heads up there, you've got some storms on the way. And then tomorrow, more of the same, except that severe weather threat's going to shift a little bit to the south, and that's going to be centered just near kind of Waco, Texas, just to the north of Austin. We've got this slight risk here. They could upgrade this a little bit with the probabilities if an outflow boundary were to set up, because those storms today are actually going to slide down into Texas and be the catalyst for storms tomorrow. Once again, this is kind of a localized mesoscale type threat. I'm not too concerned, but heads up if you do live down there in Waco, Austin, Texas, and just down to Houston, get a couple of storms on Sunday as well. For the rest of the country, though, we are pretty much severe weather free, except for a couple spots in Montana, and then maybe a little bit of spot, maybe a little isolated severe weather on Sunday in North Carolina. Here's how it's all going to shake down today and tomorrow. I'm just going to time this out real quick, and then we're going to get to the good stuff. So this is starting Saturday night. You can see 9 p.m. tonight, nothing really going on. And then we go into 10 p.m., 11 p.m. That's when things pop right along the Oklahoma-Kansas border. Could be a couple of supercells, maybe, but they're going to quickly form into a line of storms as they push off to the south. Notice how they form in that line, roll through the Oklahoma City metro area by about 2 to 3 a.m. Central, and then they push down to the Red River and quickly kind of dissipate as you go into the morning hours. You could wake up in Dallas actually and get some storms. Heads up, if you're flying through there on Sunday, your connection could be a little messed up. And then going into Sunday afternoon, you can see maybe a rogue supercell there that continues going south. There should be some more storms that develop behind it. That is your severe weather threat for Sunday. This is Sunday night at about 7 p.m. Central. So heads up, if you do live from Austin to Abilene, could get some strong storms there. It's a very isolated, low-end severe weather threat, very localized to Texas. You know, on your 10-gallon heads, Texas, we're going to get some severe weather. All right, so we know there's going to be severe weather in Oklahoma and Texas on Saturday and Sunday, but what's the weekend going to be like for the rest of us? We already looked, there's going to be a lot of wildfire smoke in this region, and then there's going to be a lot of dust from the Sahara Desert along the Gulf Coast in this region. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the weather. Even though the forecast might call for sun, the skies will probably have a little bit of a haze over it, especially in those areas that I circled this weekend. But for the most part, things are going to be beautiful on Saturday for the rest of us, except for up here in the Northeast, where we've got that kind of nor'easter type storm that's moving off the coast. That's going to drop some rain and a lot of clouds on Saturday, but things should dramatically improve as we go into Saturday night. That low is going to scoot to the north and east. As it does so, the rain will clear, the clouds will clear, and the rest of the United States is looking absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. No rain. Once again, skies could be a little milky. Here's that signal for severe weather on Saturday, but the western United States, rain-free, gorgeous, and dry. You'll be so dry, you'll be anti-moist. Then going to Sunday evening, more of the same, maybe some isolated showers and storms here in Tennessee. For the most part, though, the rest of the country should be relatively dry, except for Florida. Florida's going to get a couple of rounds of storms on Saturday and Sunday. We've got westerly flow that's going to keep moving this moisture across the state. Going to get awfully moist. All right, let's talk Turkey. Let's talk the severe weather that we've been talking about for a couple of videos now for next week. We're going to look at the upper level pattern. This is the 500 millibar map. Once again, this is the atmosphere way above our heads, and this gives us a pretty good idea in the medium to long range what the weather's going to be like. So if we take a look starting on Saturday, once again, that ridge of high pressure, we've been talking about that video after video. Notice we've got this little cutoff low down here just off the coast of Mexico and California. And then as we go into Monday, that cutoff low is going to slide to the north and east. It's going to combine with this energy to the north. And as it does so, that'll be your catalyst for severe weather on Monday. Notice we've got this shortwave right moving through here. We've got a little bit of a shortwave moving up there. Those two will combine. There is your energy, and that is where you're expecting severe weather on Monday evening into Monday night. It's going to be a Nebraska, South Dakota threat, and that's exactly where the Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk. That's a 1 out of 5 risk. I could see this being upgraded in the future, but for now, it's just a slight risk. Goes through South Dakota into Nebraska, but we've even got a marginal risk that goes all the way into Texas, so we need more details, but that's where we're thinking severe weather is going to be on Monday. Now watch what happens as we go into Tuesday. We've got this energy that did try to merge with that energy to the north, but it kind of stalls out right over Oklahoma. This is Tuesday afternoon. We've got this area right in there. That's where we're expecting storms to fire potentially on Tuesday, as we've got some pretty strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. They're going to help vent things out. They're going to help destabilize things as well. But notice how elongated this thing is. So we're going to have storms all the way up potentially in Wisconsin, all the way down through Oklahoma. That's our severe weather risk for Tuesday. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted this area that goes from Wisconsin all the way into actually Texas, as we'll likely have a low pressure up somewhere in Canada. We're going to have a trailing cold front. Storms will form right along that cold front, and that is that yellow circled area that we got right there. Off to the right, off to the left. Is that right or left? I don't know. It looks like a big old hot dog. A little mustard on it, a little ketchup. Hey, get your hot dogs here. Hot dogs on a stick coming fresh from Oklahoma. I love corn dogs. Uh-oh. Wednesday, we've got another trough, another short wave ejecting off of the Rockies here. That's going to move into the plains Wednesday evening. We could get another round of severe weather on Wednesday. I think this one's going to be a little bit further to the south in Oklahoma and Texas, possibly maybe up here in Missouri as well, as that cold front will probably just be hanging out here. We've got warm, moist air coming up from the south, cooler air streaming down from the north, where those two air masses clash. That's where you're going to get severe weather. So heads up Wednesday, another day of severe weather expected. I just want to check this just for sanity's sake. Is the GFS still in Fantasyland? Yep, it is. The GFS is still showing some sort of tropical system moving into Florida. Guys, I'm telling you, it's probably not going to happen. But hurricane season officially begins tomorrow. June 1st is the start of hurricane season. For our Florida people, I know you've probably seen posts on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media telling you there's a hurricane coming from Florida. There isn't. If there would be, I will be the first to tell you here on YouTube. What it basically is they're cherry picking one model and they're showing this. They're showing a hurricane hitting Florida just like the GFS has been showing, but this is one model. And a lot of the other models are not showing this at all. The GFS tends to have a tropical bias where beyond, 6 days, it tends to just blow up these storms and show these fantasy hurricanes that never end up happening. I'm not saying it's impossible, but this is probably not going to happen. But Florida people and people along the Gulf Coast, what I want you to do is I want you to start to think about a plan that you have if a hurricane does come. It's so important to have a bag and have a plan that if the worst were to happen, if a hurricane was coming your way, you know what to do and you know where to go. That's all you need to do at this point and enjoy the beach and sun. This forecast has been insane. We've got more to talk about. We've got a severe geomagnetic storm watch for June 2nd. Now, what the heck does that even mean? It just means the sun has emitted a massive pulse of radiation. That's this red, see this red thing coming off? That's the sun literally emitting a massive pulse of radiation that's headed right in the direction of Earth. And what can happen when that storm interacts with our atmosphere, that's when you get the northern lights. Except when you get very strong storms like this, the northern lights tend to be not so northern and creep on down into the United States. And if you remember last year, we did have a storm kind of like this, and we saw the northern lights almost all the way down into Florida. And check it out. In the watch, they say watches like this are very rare. So Sunday night into Monday, assuming you don't have wildfire smoke or Sahara Desert blocking your view, you get a pretty good show. So eyes on the sky. Whoa! We're not done just yet. Look at this. This is massive. This is epic. This is huge. Warmth is finally returning to the eastern half of the United States and the West also. So for those that have been just miserable in the Midwest and Ohio Valley here, and even in the Northeast with days of cloud and rain, bad news for you. The warmth is here. Enjoy it. Guys, can we just give meteorologist Serene Arnold an epic shout out? She is absolutely killing it with these shorts. So please go over to our YouTube page, look in the short section down. If you just got to scroll down a couple of playlists here, check out the shorts she's producing because she's a degreed meteorologist and she's talking about some really cool things. You're going to learn big time if you watch those videos. We've already talked about lightning. We've talked about dew point temperature. We're continuing to produce epic content here. So go watch that. Make sure to like her video and leave a comment if you got a question or if you liked it. Also, guys, I would definitely encourage you to check out our live stream yesterday. We had Connor Croft on. We had Supercell. We had Dan. We had Sierra, all doing severe weather coverage. And then we just kind of had like an aftermath happy hour afterwards talking about how it all went down. And next week, we got a special surprise for you guys. That rhymed. We're going to be hosting outbreak aftermath shows after the severe weather all next week. And we're going to have people like Connor, Jordan, possibly Corey Gherkin, and others as kind of like an after show as they drive home or back to their target or back to their hotel for the next day. So get ready. Also, with the announcement of our latest partnership with Weatherfront, we created a commercial. Let's watch it right now. Weatherfront, it'll have you blow by the competition. It's got radar, observations, models, all in one epic app. Blow by the competition! Woo!
Weatherfront, the official weather app of the StormFrontfreaks network.
Boom. All right, guys. That was the commercial. Based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's just a flesh wound. All right, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for joining me. Find someone, tell them you love them, tell them you care about them. Do something nice for someone today. This is Stormcat 5, and I'll see you on the next one. Run away!